And we are officially convened. Welcome to meeting number 335. It's 2024 and it's May. And for TMG TMG Day. Teresa, we're good on the iPad?
Good.
We're good on the camera? Okay, cool. Hey George, we saved you a seat up front. Okay, our membership chair is not here today, so I'll just throw it out. Do we have any, let's do it right. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, let's try it one more time. Let's get some energy in it. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, that's about the most we're gonna get, I guess, in May. All right. Do we have any visitors or new members today?
The one in front of you.
You want me to
The
stand up?
upstanding,
Hi, I'm Deborah Laurel, and I'm his daughter. And yeah, here I am. What else am I supposed to tell him?
do you use a computer?
I still have my 2012 MacBook Air, which hasn't had a new operating system in quite a while because they don't make it anymore. Bad Apple. Sorry, that's my opinion. I love Apple, but I hate that they won't keep supporting their stuff. And I have a new iPhone 14 Pro because I wanted the camera.
And what do you use them to do?
Email, word processing,
Okay.
you know, internet surfing.
Is there anything that you want to be able to do but you can't figure out how to do it?
Oh, probably lots of stuff.
Okay, but nothing comes to mind.
No.
Okay. Typically, what happens is if they say it's not really important, but I'd really like to know how to, that means one, it really is important, and two, it really bugs them that they can't figure it out. Okay, so if that happens in your life, if you hear yourself saying, it's not really important, but I really wish I could figure out why, then you know you've got something to bring up at the meeting, if you so desire. Okay. Standard verbiage. At the break, say hello to the visitor. If they try to borrow money, say no. Okay, we've got it. Okay, moving right along. Any news this month the members want to share with each other in terms of computer stuff? Going once, going twice.
iPad's still there, sure you're talking about it. It was still there.
Okay, does Rick want to contribute anything? Otherwise, I'll just blab.
Lots of news, do it. That's
Okay, Apple had a little event the other day. If you remember, in past meetings, I have droned on endlessly about Apple silicon processors, the M1 silicon processor, the M2, the M3. They announced the M4 processor. Okay. And the reason why this might be a big deal is this is going to be the one that's got AI, artificial intelligence, baked into it. They also announced on that event that they were finally updating the iPads. It's been 18 months since the last update of the iPad, so they now have an iPad Air coming out with the M2 processor, and they have the iPad Pro. And the thing that amazed me about the iPad Pro was, well, probably not important to you, but to me, I was like just flabbergasted. It's the thinnest Apple product they've ever made. It's thinner than an iPod Nano, okay? And they managed to somehow shoehorn in a landscape camera. So you've got a landscape camera in it, and it's the thinnest thing they've ever made. They also announced a bunch of accessories. So there's a new Magic Keyboard, which is for the iPads. where the iPad magnetically attaches to a piece of metal, and then you have this thing, and it looks like a laptop. You got the big screen, and you got the keyboard, and you got the trackpad. They also announced some future stuff with the Apple Pencil, and there was one other thing. I'm trying to
There was
remember.
some new software features for their video and audio recordings.
And then they also did say they are going to come out with iOS 18. Okay, like, you know, we didn't think they were going to continue with it. So those were all the big things. So all this stuff, yeah.
I think the biggest news that most people didn't really pay a lot of attention to was the new process. This is a step up improvement for, you know, they made thinner silicon, so they, I mean, the silicon change to 3 nanometer or whatever. So that is groundbreaking. I mean, that is way out front, and that will mean that everything going forward will be on that new process, which means that when you do finally get M4s of whatever variety they are, they'll probably be a little different. They'll be a new design because they will have to be on this new process. And that will lower power, increase speed. I mean, there's all kinds of cool things that are gonna come because of that little change that they just kind of slid in, and it's really cool.
The other thing, backroom stuff that normal people never get to see. If you're going to be running artificial intelligence models and you're providing data to queries from that, in other words, a query is me saying, Siri, what time is it? And then it responds back, well, where are you? And, you know, all that other stuff that it's not supposed to do, it's just supposed to give you the time. That's all run from servers in data centers. Apple's AI is going to be running on custom-built servers, built by them, with M2 chips that have never seen a commercial device. So there's something beyond the M2 Ultra that they're going to be using in these servers. And what that means is they'll be able to run these data centers with half the power that a comparable NVIDIA data center would run. So that, again, it's, wow, you know, they're just pushing this stuff farther and farther ahead every day. So I don't think the innovation days of Apple are done yet, but we'll see. I mean, you can always screw it up if you really try hard. Okay, anybody else have any news items they want to share? Going once, going twice. Anybody from the peanut gallery out on Zoom land? Nope? Okay, then we'll continue onward. Next thing would be Dan Wyckoff, and he's going to do our HomeKit Minute. HomeKit is Apple's name for Internet of Things, where you control lights and thermostats and garage doors and all sorts of different things using your computer.
So let me switch over here.
Oh, here, let me do it. I practiced it. Okay. We go source. And there we go. Now we're on the MacBook Air. Excuse me, the Apple TV.
Okay. Stop here. Okay. All right. So I don't know how many of you have string lights in your house or outside, but in our new house we have a nice outdoor patio area, and I had Christmas lights out during Christmas time, and I kept them up, and my wife said, no, we're not going to keep those up. So I decided I was going to find another product. I found this product by LifeX. I've got several other bulbs from the same company, but it's a string light. It's about 24 feet long, and it's got a light fixture, an LED light fixture on every 2 feet. But what's really different is about the bulb itself. It's not really a bulb. It's hardwired into the system. But you can see on the image, it's got an RGBW setup, so it can do so many billions of colors, and plus all different temperatures of white as well. So the software unfortunately only links to a 2G Wi-Fi, so we tried to get it connected and we've only got 5G here. So the real benefits comes from connecting it to the app, the HomeKit app or the LifeX app, and then there's all kinds of little presets that you can go through to have it do light chasing or flickering. You can have it come up to look like it's flames or things like that. And this is part of their super color editions of their bulbs. Their bulbs have multiple LEDs in them, and because of that, they can do special effects with them and all. But it's not quite your typical cost-wise. I mean, this particular 24-foot unit costs $129 versus maybe $50 or $60. But I like the concept of being able to customize and do a lot of the color effects and things like that. So, you know, so I plan to be putting it up on our patio, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention. They've got other things besides for these. Like I said, I've got several bulbs that are interfaced with HomeKit as well, smart bulbs. So, any questions out there?
Are the outside bulbs, is that plastic and is it weatherproof?
It's acrylic, it's all weatherproof. If you can come and take a look at it at the break, but there's actually two elements in there. There's an outer acrylic shell and then there's an inner shell. And what you see on the website here, it allows them to mix colors between the two elements. So that's one of the ways they get their special effects. What's that?
You cannot see the screen.
Can't see the screen.
Your screen is not
Hang on.
in the big
I
screen.
see it, right there.
Put me unsure.
Who's asking?
Oh, here. This is blank.
But it doesn't matter, that's Mike, it's right here, I see it. It's the church live.
Yeah, it's on there, I'm not
So do
sure.
they make any for like indoor too? I know you could use those indoors if you wanted to, but.
They have, their bulbs could be indoor as well as outdoor.
Yeah, but that's.
Their string lights, the string lights are meant for either, so.
Yeah, but that's the only size they make and.
It's expandable, you can actually change, you can get several, you can expand up to 72 feet with these. They just interconnect
But
at
the
the,
bulb housings aren't, you can't buy the bulb housings, you can't buy a different.
no, they're not a bulb, it's all built in hardwired.
Right, but
Point
you
at the
can't.
screen so you know which screen is live. Back up there and point it. This is the screen you should look at right there. Or he's pointing.
Any other questions?
Now you could just put music to them too.
They will react to sound as well. You can have it, you know, so it would flash, you know, light to the sound. It would pick up the sound from your phone or your iPad or whatever.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Parties at your house.
Yep, parties at my house.
Does the light string itself have any motion sensors, or is that something extra you have to put
No,
on?
you could hook it up to, I've got another LifeX bulb connected to a.
So you could
motion
have a
sensor.
triggered event.
Yeah.
If this motion sensor senses something on the patio, turn on all the lights.
Right,
Okay.
right. And it functions typical HomeKit, so you can have scheduled light, you know, light to come on at specific times.
Is this very much like the LED light,
LED,
the bulbs?
there's bulbs, LED bulbs buried in the base of it, and
Okay,
it's just how they illuminate the different fixture, the acrylic fixtures that are on top.
well, the reason I'm asking that is, I have a Christmas thing, a tree, all LEDs, and it's in a window, or was in a window, in the kitchen, or kitchen window. Okay, well, in the mornings, we turn on and listen to the radio and so forth, and I couldn't figure out why the heck I got so much static on WHIO. And I read, well, we can turn that thing on, turn it off, no static. Can the same thing happen with this?
I don't know, I haven't tried it. There's a separate power supply that powers the LEDs, and then there's a separate controller that
Okay.
interfaces with HomeKit.
So I don't know if it's the bulbs or if it's some of the controls.
Right, could be the driver that's doing it, because LEDs have to have a driver, you can't just plug it into 120. There has
This
to be-
thing changes colors and all kinds of fancy
Yeah.
things.
Yeah,
So, but I couldn't figure out for days why my radio at this hour, which is daylight, and the thing's still on.
a lot of times they don't shield the cables and the wiring, so just the electric fields can send off.
If you're gonna spend over $100 for one of these, you don't want the radio going. "Arrgh."
Right,
Okay,
all right, thank you.
switch back here. Okay. And Zoom quit unexpectedly, so let's reopen Zoom. So this is one of those complicated processes where this laptop is connecting to Zoom, and that camera is connected to that laptop, which is also on the Zoom call.
The iPad is on
And
the
the
iPad is connected to the computer.
iPad's linked to the, yeah. Okay, so, there we go. Okay, so we did the welcome, we did the news, we did the HomeKit meeting. Next thing is freebies wanted for sale. Did anybody bring in any stuff that they wanted to put on the freebie table? I don't see anything over there. Did anybody bring anything in that they wanted to sell?
Of course, so,
Okay.
speaking of iPads, if anybody's looking for some iPads, some legacy iPads, I've got a 2011 version, 16 gigabyte iPad 2, looking for $20. It's got a cracked screen, but works fine. Got a, I'm not sure what year, but I got a 16 gigabyte iPad. It will need a 30-pin USB cable, but that's $40. And then an iPad Pro, 11-inch. It's got a cracked screen as well, but
He's hard on these things, isn't he?
I'm thinking.
and then
Batteries.
if you're looking for something newer, I will be upgrading to the M4 chip. So I've got an M1 iPad Pro 12-inch.
Are you gonna crack that screen?
No, those were unfortunately
sale.
all these other smaller ones were my mother-in-law's. So
She cracked my screen.
yeah.
Your mother-in-law.
How is the new house working out? And did you start putting in your security stuff yet? Since you had to leave a lot of your stuff at the old house?
Well, no, I've got all the other devices, but that's still left to do.
Okay.
Yeah, so nobody can break in.
And since the house you moved into was one of those, and I'm not being pejorative, but house of the future, it had stuff, have you gotten all that stuff working the way you wanted it to?
Well, the Newtone devices, the legacy devices aren't working, no. But I intend to replace them.
Okay. So I should check back in at some point.
Yeah, I'm talking with an electrician about some of the other stuff.
Okay, very good. All right, so I'm gonna declare that we're done with freebies and wanted. And now we go to the one that I always dread, help desk. Who's having problems? Okay, I'm gonna pretend I don't see the people in the back row. I'm gonna look
It's
up
a simple
front first.
question.
No,
It's a simple
you
question.
have the floor.
He is going to New Zealand in October, and I just want to know what he needs to take with him so we can charge
Me,
his
he-
phone and all
Ah,
that kind of stuff. What
okay.
do I need to buy so he has what he needs to take?
Okay, New Zealand is a separate country,
True.
No.
but they used to be part of the British Empire.
Right.
And they use the same electric outlets that they use in the United Kingdom,
Okay.
okay? They are some of the best designed outlets and plugs you have ever seen. There's almost no way you can hurt yourself with them, but they're extremely large compared to the plugs we're used to. So he would want to look for, let me see if I can bring. Okay, so the question is, does he prefer to buy stuff that he's gonna use with his Apple stuff from an Apple store? Or does he prefer what we call third party? In other words, other people, other companies that make stuff.
Whatever's cheaper. Probably other companies.
Okay, so Apple has a setup that they call their, I'm waiting for it to come up, Apple World Travel Adapter Set. And it's like $30. What's nice about this is you've got all of the plugs that you would use in Britain, Japan, well, Europe and the US. And so the stuff that you would use for Britain is that plug that you're looking at that's in the lower left of the box. Okay, they have a 3-prong plug. The one up above, I believe, is the one that they use in Japan. The one that's in the lower right, I believe, is the one that's primarily used in Europe. And the other two are adapters that fit onto a power brick. So if you have a power brick like this one, I have a long cord on this, you can pull that head off. It's called, we call it a duck head. So here's a power brick. There's the cord. Comes off. That, we call that a duck head. There's another one you can put on this that's just got the end of this on it. And that really does look like a duck head. And it's got the prongs flip in. So those two units here and here, boom and boom, they're the ones that would fit onto your power brick that allows you then to plug into their outlets.
So do you just use your regular charging cord then and put it into that?
Yeah, typically what'll happen is if he's using a device where the charging cord is attached to the brick, he would just use that. If it's one of these where it's a USB-C or a lightning cable, again, he would be plugging that into his device and then that into the other. Okay, does that help? Okay. The other thing I would do is if you decide you're gonna, you're not gonna buy it online, take a trip up to one of the Apple stores and they'll set, they'll wanna schedule you in with a consultant, whatever, and just tell them, hey, just real quick, I'm traveling to New Zealand, you're gonna be taking your iPhone and what else? Just the iPhone? He's gonna be taking his iPhone with and they'll direct him to, what he needs. This is probably overkill for that. You can buy the iPhone chargers that are just for, but this typically would be the stuff that you're looking for. Okay, does that help? And if I remember correctly, there's 3 Apple stores within driving distance. You've got the one at Townsend down in Cincinnati. You've got the one in Dayton up at the Green. And then you have, is there 1 or 2 Apple stores in Columbus? There's 2. Okay. One's north up by OSU and the other one's more,
They're on the other side.
Okay, okay.
Easily.
Okay,
Easily
anybody
shot.
else? That was an easy one, thank you.
I told you.
Slow pitch, okay. Anybody else going once, going twice? Anybody over in the peanut gallery in Zoom land? No? Okay, cool. Let me close this out real quick. Bring up the agenda again. Okay, we did the welcome news, hum kit, freebies, help desk. It's raffle time. So let's just say 10-15 minutes to have a short biological break. And he will be presenting about the camera in your pocket. Ready to learn more about the future?
This is
Future,
present day.
present day.
Okay, so I'm gonna turn it over to Rick. Rick's gonna be talking about a very important thing. That camera app that you've got on your phone, on your iPad, and what you can do.
All right, everybody's got an iPhone with them because I want you to try some of this stuff as we walk through this.
Oh.
Because I want to make sure you know what you're doing. When you leave here today, I want you to be experts.
Okay.
That's the goal. So, am I in the view? Can you see me on there? Standing here?
It's probably better on the other side.
I'll get on the other side.
Yeah.
All right. It says part 1. I started working on this, and I quickly realized that if I talked about everything I know or could know or should know about the camera, then I would probably talk for 3 or 4 hours. So I decided that I better break it up a little bit. So what I did is I broke it into 3 parts. And today we're gonna do part 1, and we're gonna have a little more time than I thought we would have, so we probably could have done part of part 2, but we're just gonna do part 1. And all the examples here are on my iPhone, which happens to be a 14 Pro Max. Not every phone is gonna have all these capabilities. So if you see something that look right, you wanna ask a question, raise your hand. There's notes to some Apple Tech Notes on almost every one of these features. You go to the Tech Notes, it tells you specifically which phones can and can't support those things. And then worst case, you can send me a text and I'll tell you if it can or can't support it. But I'm not gonna try to go through all that in the presentation. Just too much to do. All right. Taking pictures, taking photos. I love to take photos. Photography is something I totally enjoy. It is my favorite thing on earth. And I can spend all day, every day just taking pictures and be very happy. So when the iPhone came out, I got so excited at how great the pictures were compared to my old flip phone. Anybody ever tried to take a picture with those old flip phones? They were atrocious. And the first iPhones weren't great either, don't get me wrong. But those first phones were really bad. And so when the iPhone came along and the picture started to improve, I started getting really excited. Then I think it was about the iPhone 4S or 5 when it really got really interesting. And the iPhone pictures now, there are people that they take all their pictures with their phone. They don't even have a regular big camera. So we're gonna talk through some features. I'm gonna try to cover everything you can do with the phone. If I miss something, raise your hand, ask the question, I'll go back and cover it. We're gonna start with the basics. That button. Everybody knows what that button is. That's where you snap the picture. That's how you make it all happen. But there's other ways you can take pictures with the phone that you may not be aware of. And I'm going to point a couple of those out. You have to turn some features on sometimes to do these. But these 2 buttons down here, your up and down volume button, you can also get those to function to take pictures too. So a lot of times, I don't want to punch the button like this. You ever pick the phone up and you punch the button and it jiggles the thing a little bit and your picture moves? Well, if you put your fingers on the down button, you can actually snap that button and take the picture instead of pushing the other button, which is a lot better to me. I much prefer to do that. So when I'm holding the phone, I will quite often put my fingers, I always take pictures almost always in landscape mode. It makes my wife really upset when I'm complaining about pictures in the portrait mode all the time. But I'll hold it like this, and instead of punching the button, I just snap this thing here. And so I'm snapping pictures now, and it'll just snap pictures by just clicking that button.
They're always getting told, don't do this, do this.
That's a thing I do. So, and then we'll talk in a few minutes about the burst mode, but if you turn the feature on, you can use the other button which in this case is the left button or the volume up button. You use that button and you can take the burst mode pictures. Anybody use burst mode? We'll talk about burst mode in a minute, why you would use it. Well, I do it all the time on purpose, for reasons, but, so we'll talk about the burst mode in a minute. But you can, the bottom line what I'm trying to tell you in this picture is, you can take pictures two different ways on the iPhone. You can use the buttons, or you can press the shutter button. And that's really important. Now the shutter button also does some other features that we'll talk about. If you take this button will slide up and down. So if you push on that button and you slide it, if you slide it up or to the right, it takes burst mode photos, or it goes into video mode. If you slide to the left, it takes burst mode photos. So if you're looking at the thing, if I slide it this way, now it's just snapping off a bunch of video, start a video. I slide it to the right, and it stops burst mode, one way or the other. It's on the thing that's right there.
Yeah, it shows you.
See that button? You slide it,
Yeah. And then it goes over to the side.
and it'll start a video. If you slide it to the right,
Oh, I started.
now it started a video, it's recording a video. If you slide it the other way, while you're holding it over there, it snaps burst mode photos.
What rate, how,
Oh my God.
the different photos, what's the time difference?
On the burst mode?
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
Well,
We'll get that
I
in a second.
know. Let's see what
So
happens.
that's how you take pictures on the iPhone. That sounds like a pretty simple thing, but it's kind of cool that you can do that with the button. I like that, most people don't know that. All right, everybody knows what this button down here is. This is to turn on and off your flash. I almost never use the flash. I almost always keep the flash off because the iPhone does such a good job in dark environments that I almost always leave that off. Because most places where you use a flash are too far away for flash to do any good anyway. But if I'm in a real dark environment, like at a wedding reception where they got it down for dancing or something, then sometimes I may use the flash, but I almost always leave the flash off. But if you want to turn it on and off, this is where you do it so that it's not going to automatically just start flashing. But I usually leave it off. Then the button right above that, with the two little, does everybody have a button right above that?
No.
There should be a button above that. If you got that feature turned on, I'll talk about that. That's the shared mode feature I talked about last month. Go back and if you look at last month's, yeah, you don't have the shared mode. What model is that? That's why. If you have the shared album that I talked about last month, if you turn this on and off to turn on and off, putting pictures in your private library or in the shared out library. So if Teresa's taking pictures and she turns this, takes the X off that, turns it on, then the picture she takes will go into our shared album when she takes them. If she turns that off, then they go into her personal album instead of into the shared album. That's what that feature does. How many have that button on their phone? Just a couple? It'll be an extra button right above the flash if you have it. Hey, you have to have a shared album turned on to make it show up, I think. So if you're not doing a shared album, it won't matter. All right? Go back to last month's thing on shared photo album if you want to try that. All right, let's get back to burst mode for a minute. This is the definition that Apple uses for burst mode. What is burst mode? Burst mode allows the camera to take pictures of objects that are moving fast. Like if you're at a ball game with your granddaughter or grandson, and you want to capture and try to get some of those real cool images you see all the time, you use burst mode. It snaps like every 10th of a second. I mean, it just goes boom, 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 and you can get 60 pictures in no time at all. It's crazy how many it'll do. But it captures those into this burst image, and it records all of them. And then you can go back in, and you can select which one of those you want to use. You can delete some of them. You can pick which one you like, delete all the rest of them. But it's a great way to capture things that are happening rapidly, where you may want to get a picture, but you don't know for sure what. And it allows you to do that at a really fast, it'll do that on the front facing or the rear facing camera. So this support article goes through all the details of how you do it, but burst mode is really, really powerful and really cool way to capture pictures of moving, high speed events. I've used it for mostly grandkids. That's where I use it most. I mean, I've used it for other things too. It's really good. It's really good at sports events. It's really good with little kids. It's really good with wildlife if you're in a close enough area to get a good close picture. And you can use it with all the various zoom levels too. So it's really cool. I love burst mode. It's cool. Now this is a setting you, remember I told you you can use the volume up to do burst mode? You have to have this turned on to make that work. Remember I showed you that picture at the very beginning? The volume up, for volume mode, take burst mode photos if enabled. I have that if enabled. And that enabling feature happens in your camera settings. So you go in settings, camera, and this use volume up for burst mode, you can turn that on or off.
Oh, that's what it is.
All right? That makes sense? I just want you to know that to use that button for that, you have to turn that on. You can still use the other button. You can still use the button itself on the screen and flip it and do it, or you can use the side button, volume up button. Okay, here's some burst mode photos I did. There's a burst mode library in your albums library. And every burst mode set of photos you have on your iPhone, if you have any, are going to be in that album. If you want to go in and just look at all the burst mode photos on your phone, you go into that burst mode library and you'll see all of the burst mode photos that are in your album, okay, in your phone. Now here's one I took of some fireworks. Burst mode works really good for fireworks too. And so I went to this one right here. You can select it and do things, or you can edit it. If you hit select, select says, look at all the photos in my burst mode. I've got in that burst mode right here. I did this on July 4th, 2018. There's 131 photos in that library, in that burst. 131 of that particular firework. I took it I held that button long enough to capture 131, which did take long, by the way. That's really fast. So I took 131 of them. Now when I do that, when I hit select, it'll pull all of those pictures up. These are all from that burst mode, and they're across this ribbon across the bottom of the screen. And you can slide back and forth across there, and it'll point one at a time. You can look at each of those individually and see what the picture is. And once you find the one you want, you hit select, and that becomes the picture. And you can save just that picture. You can delete all of them but that picture. And it gives you a way to limit it down. So there's no reason to keep all 131 of these. I kept all 131 of them, as you can see. It's kind of wasteful, but it does allow you to keep as many as you want. But I kept all 131 because I'm a nut for fireworks. Yeah, okay.
What's the difference with the regular video versus the burst?
Burst mode is individual pictures versus a video is a flowing thing. It's a video stream of information. So this is like 131 individual pictures. They're all related. And if I took a burst mode of you, I'm taking a picture of you. As long as I'm holding that button, I just keep taking picture. So they're individual pictures. A video is a stream of content. It's not an individual moment. I mean, it technically is, but it's not the same thing. That makes sense?
Yeah, I see it now.
Anybody have any questions? Anybody try a burst mode? Try it.
Is the burst mode typically set at, like you said, 10 pictures per second?
It's somewhere around that. I don't remember the exact number, but
Can you adjust that?
No, it's not adjustable.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So if you try it, did somebody just take it? I just heard it.
Much better.
You snapped a bunch of burst modes. So you got a whole bunch of pictures, and now if you go in and you select, you can select which one you can edit that and just select.
Yeah, because you
And
can
pick which one you want. Just look across
you
them.
can pick the one where people don't have their eyes closed.
We're gonna talk about that in a minute. But yeah, you could use it for that kind of a
It's
thing
easier for
too.
me to hold it to text.
All right, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Everybody got it?
Yeah, you haven't told us how to burst yet, though. right?
We just did it, yeah, we did it. Go ahead and try to do a burst mode. Do you have the button enabled?
I found it, yes, yeah.
Okay, hold your phone up there, sideways or up, down, whichever way you want.
Wait, wait a minute.
Go into the camera,
Yeah, right. And then.
and if you have the enabled using the side button down, you just push that button down, and
Either one? Oh, just the one.
it's the up button. And you'll see that counting up on the screen, it's counting up. I've done 48, it's counting up at the bottom of the screen as you do it.
Sorry, I don't understand. I turned out Siri.
I'll have to turn on the camera.
Did you turn on that that moves
Yeah, I did.
in the settings?
Just go into your camera.
It's gotta be one of these though,
Just-
right?
It's the down button.
But you need to
This
go
is
to
the up
camera.
button, that's the down button.
Oh, it's the down button.
Get into your camera first.
Oh, that's what I was thinking. I think I've done it by accident, but it's good to know.
Now, just push and hold down on the down button.
Oh,
See it counting off?
okay.
Just count it up on your screen. And do it either way, just hold it that way and push the button.
Down button.
And see,
That's
just
the
turn the
video,
video
that's the
on.
up button, I'm sorry, push that button.
push that, see that red?
Push it, hold it up.
How many photos you take?
And hold it.
You're on the up button.
There, see, it's what's counting up.
Well, I
That's what you want,
never
the
see
up
it.
button is
Wanna
what
do
you want.
what?
Oh, yes, okay, thank you.
Alright.
Thank you.
Anybody else got that?
No. What's the button like, what are you pushing? Yeah, we don't.
Did you enable the,
Yeah.
you can do it from here by doing this.
Oh, okay.
Or, if you've got it turned on, you can push this. I don't think you got that turned on.
24 items. I did a video with it. Okay, thank you.
Alright,
Oh, I got more.
anybody else having trouble with that?
No.
Yeah, what you got?
How do I get that to move?
Did you take a burst mode?
Yeah.
So what you do is you edit.
Cool. Oh, you're doing it?
Yeah.
You have your sound.
I have my sound on.
Yeah, that's
I
cool.
don't think that's a burst mode.
I'm just
I
learning.
was
This is like
holding
a
the
new
button
toy.
down, it was-
Yeah, you know, it's gonna count on if you
You're
do
gonna be amazed at all the things you can do with that.
I think I need
So we're gonna,
photos for dummies book.
Yeah. Oh, no, he's got this great,
we're gonna have it turned on there.
resource.
So you don't, it's not gonna be
How to
burst
do
mode.
it.
There, it's doing burst mode.
Okay.
There, it's doing burst mode.
Don't
Now if I go in
Don't
and
be so much.
Turn that sound off.
I edit this picture. Yeah, I always turn that off. Now you can edit that.
Try different things at different
At
times.
different times.
And you just put a little bit of time out, maybe 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So will it all?
I can see about 3 or 4 people
You can turn
in the show
You
doing
turn
burst
it off.
mode at the same time.
That,
You know, what
it's
that-
easier because it can do so many things to get yourself.
Comments are going out like no
Yeah.
flashes,
So this way
no
I've
burst
got-
mode.
and if I do it one time, then I can sort of build up an expertise in one before I start to the other, and then.
And you can even jot down just on like a piece of paper, the different things you've done.
That's a good idea.
And then go back to them and see if you remember how exactly you did it. So,
I understand that people in the choir don't like to see
Oh, yeah.
faces lit up and they get,
Oh, look at
So if you have
that.
anybody graduating from either college or high school, this would be a good way of getting
We'll come
them
back to
going
it.
across.
It's right
Oh,
there.
the
We'll
whole
come
thing.
back to it.
It's like taking a little movie.
Yes.
All right, let's keep moving. 'Cause I wanna
And
get
then you
through
can go
this.
back and pick
That's
out,
cool.
there's certain pictures that came out that you want and make it a picture.
All right, anybody else having trouble getting burst mode to work? I gotta get there, for some reason, I don't see why it's not there.
You might mention how the live photo and the burst are similar,
Yeah.
but why they're different.
Well, see, now it's not doing it. So.
I will, I'll talk about live photo in a minute.
Okay.
Burst mode is just a bunch of individual pictures
Okay.
strained together as pictures individually, and you can, as long as you punch that button, it'll keep taking pictures.
Go into your
So they're individual pictures, and they're just stored as a whole bunch, and you can work your way through those and delete them and edit them and all kinds of things. All right, that's burst mode. And I don't know why, that should have caught burst mode on what we did, but we'll come back to that, try it in a minute, because it does it on mine.
Okay.
All right. Now, we're gonna talk about live photos in a couple minutes, but somebody asked about the difference between live photos and burst mode photos. I'll just say this now. A live photo is a fixed time frame, and what it does is, when you push the shutter button, it captures a little bit of before and a little bit after. You have no control of how much that is. It just captures the same amount, and it's like attaching a little bit of video before your picture and a little bit of a video after your picture, and sticking it all together and putting that in a packet and calling that a single picture, and it's called a live photo. And you can do all kinds of cool things with live photos, and I'll show you some of that in a few minutes. But that's different than a burst mode. Burst mode is just a whole bunch of individual pictures, and you can put them together in big groups of them, hundreds of them if you want. And that's not limited, that you can just keep snapping those pictures. They're not video at all, they're just individual pictures. Picture, stuck them together.
As long as you're holding down the.
As long as you're holding or pushing the button to do it,
Yeah.
all right?
Okay,
Thank
so basically, when you're talking about burst, you're talking about individual pictures, but a video which is still a bunch of individual pictures.
Technically, yes.
uh,
Your frame rate's much faster.
Like 30 frames per second.
60.
Or 60.
Yeah.
So,
Technically, a
but-
video is,
but in- yeah.
technically a video is a much faster burst mode, you don't have much control over it.
Right, and you don't have the capability to go into a video and just select one frame out of that 5 seconds worth of video.
Yes, you can.
You can, but we're not, you can do that, we're not gonna do
Yeah,
that.
you can. The biggest difference between the two is what he said, and that's the set time versus the burst. Because the set
It's
time-
actually the
set time's about
exposure
three-
time,
What is it,
right?
about 3 seconds?
It's about,
Total?
it's like every 110th, it's about a 10th of a second. For burst mode, it's about a 10th of a second.
No, I meant, the burst mode will go as long as you keep holding it.
Oh, yeah, keep on the button, they do it about every 10th of a second.
Right, so if you were at your grandkid's ball game, if you use the live photo, you would catch 3 seconds, but you don't have any control over that 3 seconds, so you get 3 seconds.
A little bit
5
before, a
seconds,
little bit
whatever-
after, and it's done.
Whatever it is. But if you're using the burst mode, then you can shoot while he's coming in there, and then you go back through and you got a whole bunch of pictures to pick from.
Right.
Especially the kid running the home base, gonna slide, you start patching burst mode pictures, you're gonna get him as he's running up, or her, as she's running up the plate, and she slides in, and the catcher's going for the ball, you'll get all those shots. And it's gonna be like you're sitting there just taking a whole bunch of individual pictures, but you're not doing it that way. You're holding the burst mode in, and it just keeps taking pictures. You have no control over matching the picture to the event. I mean, it just keeps taking the picture. You hope one of them is exactly what you want.
Right.
But when you're doing that fast, the odds are you're gonna get everything you want. Whereas with if you put the kid sliding to the home base, if you tried that as a live video, you may or you may not get it. If you get it at the exact right time, then you might get what you want, but you're only getting that 3-second window or so, and that's all you get. All right?
Right, okay, gotcha.
Now, the iPhone does have some things to help you make your shots a little more squared up. And I only mention this because I like to use this, but you may not ever use this ever. It's got this feature, it's got this feature across the middle of the screen here, and that's a level to help you make sure your phone's level. And if you turn that on, which you may not have it turned on, I'll show you how to do it in a minute. If you turn that on, as you move your phone like this, you'll see that line get jagged. You want to try to get it square to get your phone to be straight and level. And I'll show you how to turn that on. The other thing it's got is you can manually tell it where to focus on your screen with this set of stuff. And we're not going to spend any time on this today. But you can manually get focus. If you find something on your screen, if I'm taking a picture of this whole room, but I want the focus to be on Kathy, I would push and hold on Kathy on my screen, and it would lock her in, and it would lock the focus on Kathy back there instead of on the rest of you. So it's a really cool way to get focus on a specific part of your picture and to make sure you're nice and square and level. So here's how you turn that on. The grid, there's a grid on the screen. You notice on my screen, see this grid? Have you ever heard of the rule of thirds? How many have heard of the rule of thirds?
Yeah.
So if you're shooting to the rule of thirds, the screen is divided into thirds, both horizontally and vertically. And they put this on the screen, they put this on the screen, and then you can bring that focus on the screen. That makes sense?
Where is it now?
I'm gonna tell you how to turn it on.
Yeah,
That's the
okay.
next screen. So that's 2 features. If you want to turn that feature on for the grid and the level, you go into camera settings, scroll down to composition, and you can turn them on with grid and level. And you can play with those. We're not going to walk through it. But if you turn those on, you get that leveling screen and you get the grid. If you don't care, don't turn it on. Most people don't really care about that. But if you really spend a lot of time on it and you like it, that's how you turn it on. Okay, real quickly, Zoom. Now, everybody's probably pinched in and punched out on their screen to get a little bit of Zoom. I'm going to tell you a couple things about that. But before we do that, the phone by itself and the phone feature, depending on which phone you have, has some zoom levels built into the phone. So if you have an iPhone, I think it started on the Pro, I think the early Pros like 12 or 13, and since then have had various cameras. And when you're taking pictures with those particular phones, and your phone may or may not have this, you'll have this set of zoom levels right here. And if there's multiple lenses on your phone, like there is on mine, on the back, it picks which ones of those to use to get the best focus for 3x, 2x, or 1x. Depending on which phone you have, you'll have different ones of those, okay? That makes sense?
Now, is that an optical, that's optical
This
zoom?
is true optical
It's
zoom.
not
I
a
want to
digital.
talk about that difference in a minute. I should have put it in the slide. This is optical zoom only. Now you can digital zoom beyond that, but this is optical zoom.
You can adjust it.
You have that? You have it? You have the optical zoom?
No, I don't think so, because we only got one lens.
That little wheel.
Yeah, you probably know that.
Oh, the little wheel.
Yeah, you got up to 3x, so that's really good.
When you wanna take a picture, no,
Yeah, you don't have any zoom level. Now you can do digital zoom too. If you go beyond what your screen, your thing, like if I pick 3x,
yeah.
and then I grab the thing, I pinch out and zoom in, you can go up to like 10x. But let me tell you, when you start dipping into zooming outside of optical
You get a
zoom,
wheel.
digital zoom, you start losing resolution really fast. I mean, the pictures don't look as good. So I never use that. I prefer to pick the maximum optical zoom I can get, and then crop the picture afterwards to get a better zoom.
She's got.
Does that make sense?
Okay, well, I don't
Yeah,
need
he's
that,
good.
3 or 4.
Three, so yeah, so.
I'm sorry.
I was talking about the difference between digital zoom and optical zoom.
Okay.
An optical zoom uses the optics in the camera with the lenses to give you a zoom. When you start messing with digital zoom, they try to zoom it digitally instead of beyond what the optics can do. And the problem with that is a lot of times when you start zooming digitally, like you're pinching out, trying to zoom in to get that little ant, get as big a picture as you can get, what you end up with, you get a real bad picture because you get blurry, you lose resolution because of the way the zoom works. So what I do to get the best picture I can possibly get, I use the maximum optical zoom my phone will support that works for that picture, and then I crop it afterwards. So if I want to zoom in on that ant, I'll use a 3x zoom, and then I'll crop it just around the ant to get the better picture, rather than just try to get the digital zoom. So just a tip. All right, so that's zooming. Now if you look real close, there's a great blue heron right here. He was beautiful. And you notice here I'm at 3x, and you can almost make out, he's a little bit better there. But he was a long ways off. So in that case, if I was going to use that picture, I would take it with 3x, and then I would crop that picture around, say right here, and I would get the best possible picture of that blue heron I could get with that camera at that distance. It wouldn't be perfect, but it'd be better than if I tried to use digital zoom. Make sense?
Yes.
Rick, what iPhone version is
It's a
that?
14 Pro Max.
That's a 14, because I only have 3.
Yeah, that's probably true. I have an extra lens that you probably don't have.
Well, I have 3 lenses.
I have 4.
Oh, you have 4?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I have 3 plus, I got 3 too. But mine's higher resolution or something.
Right.
There's a change.
Because I just have,
You have 1x or 2x.
well, I have 0.5, 1, and 2.
Yeah, it's got 0.5, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
All right. Macro photography. Has anybody ever heard of macro photography? This is when you take real close-ups of things. Like if you got a plant in your backyard and you want to zoom in and get the details. Teresa loves to take these pictures. If the iPhone, starting with the iPhone 13, they put a macro feature right in the camera. So there are some apps out there that try to do it with the older phones. But if you have some of the phones that have this macro photography, I'm going to show you how it works here, and your phone may or may not support it. What happens is, this is a flower I saw at a park the other day. So when you want to take a macro photography picture, you get real close, and then if you have it set up to automatically turn on, you get this little button right here, this little thing, and that tells you you're close enough to get a macro picture, and it's enabled. And then you snap the picture and you get this really great zoom. It does all kinds of things internally to make it work.
It lit up right here in the corner, on the left-hand corner down at the bottom, it'll light up.
It just tells you. So I don't know if your phone supports it or not. If it does, in settings, macro control, camera macro control, you can turn that on so it automatically switches, or turn it off to not. So if you don't have this in your camera settings, you don't have the feature.
Okay.
So just look in your camera setting. If you have it, if you turn that on, then when you get close enough to something, it'll automatically switch. That's the way I use it. I have it automatically switch. And I love it for taking pictures of if there's a, this is gonna sound funny, if there's a bee or some kind of insect on a plant, and I can get all that in one picture, I just love that. So I get really excited about that. So that's this macro control. It does these really cool close-ups that, you know, this is not a great one, but Teresa's got a billion of them because she loves to take these pictures more than I do. Okay. There's one other thing. In settings camera, there's this feature, this called preserve settings.
Yep.
This is all going to be in these slides when you get them. You're going to have all this. So if you go to preserve settings, there is a macro control setting, and what this does is it says if I was in the macro setting, rather than automatically switching back and forth, just go to where it was the last time I used it. So if I just took a bunch of macro, how do I describe this? If I was using my phone and I took a bunch of macro pictures of a flower right here, and then I stopped taking pictures. Next time I come back into the Photos album, the photo app, the camera app, it's still going to be in the macro settings. It goes back the way it was if you turn this on. The way I have it set is every time I go into the camera, macros turn off. I don't want it to go to that mode every time I get in, just because the last time I was taking pictures, I was taking macro pictures. That makes sense? In other words, that just says, keep it the way it was the last time I used it, or don't keep it the way it was the last time I used it. I leave it turned off. I just want you to know it's there, and that's what it does. Most people probably don't take macro pictures all the time. If you're taking macro pictures all the time, you probably want that turned on. All right? Make sense?
Can you address those top three that you've turned on?
Yeah. Camera mode. This is turned on for me. I want, if I set the phone up, the camera on the phone up to do 3x zoom, and I'm taking a lot of distance pictures, and then I get out of the camera and I come back in. If I turn that on, it'll come back the way it was when I left it. So on all the regular settings. So what they say here in the thing is, preserve the last modes such as video rather than automatically reset to photo. If I have that turned on, it'll take it back the way I was using it before for my last time I used it. If you take a lot of video, well, I do take a lot of video too. If I'm in taking some videos and I get out of the camera, next time I go back in, it's going to go back to video because I have that turned on. But if they turn it off, it'll always come back to photos every time right off the bat. All right. The next one down says creative controls. I'm not going to talk about this one today. I should add that to one of the next two lessons. There's a bunch of creative, depending on which phone you have again, there's a bunch of creative styles you can use. And this will preserve those things so that the way you used it the last time is the way, it's just make it, when you start the camera up, come back to the way you left it. Or always start the same place. And the last one is depth control. Depth control is primarily used with portrait photographs, and it has to do with field effects and how deep an image is. And here I leave it turned on because I want to use depth of field, and I want it to remember how I used it last. So I leave it turned on, but you know, you may or if you don't take a lot of portrait photography, I probably wouldn't worry about that one. All right?
Thank you.
We'll come back to other things there later.
Rick,
Yes.
Does the newer phones have like a stabilization control in there for people like me that have a little bit of hand tremor?
They do optical stabilization, depending on which phone you get. Like my phone has optical stabilization and it does an incredible job of it. So a little bit of motion doesn't show up in my videos.
What, do you know when they started that, which model?
I think 13. But
Okay,
but
so
you
I
can look
probably
that up
don't-
online and find out.
Okay,
But I think it was the 13 Pros. I think it was on the Pros only. And it may have been the Pro Maxes only, I don't remember. But it's one or the other.
okay, because can you turn that on or off?
There's no settings for it.
Okay, it's always on,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, Pro RAW. Has anybody heard of Pro RAW? You've heard of raw photography. Raw photography is the way when you take a picture, it's a JPEG, for example. When you take a JPEG picture, it's kind of reduced down a little bit. They take out the high end, they take out the low end, and they make a nice picture. But if you want all the detail, all the full
Dynamic range.
dynamic range is the word I'm looking for, yeah. If you want the full dynamic range in the picture, you want to use a raw picture. Apple's got their thing they call Pro RAW. And Pro RAW pictures can get really big. Most of your pictures, most of you guys are taking are 12 megapixels. And that's all they are. But when you're taking a Pro RAW image, you got this new thing on the screen on phones that'll support it called RAW Max, if it's enabled. And when you turn that thing on, you can take pictures that are 24 megapixels or something like that. So one single picture can be really big. Now they're great pictures because you can edit them and you get so much detail and you can play with the dynamic range and you can bring out things that you wouldn't see normally. And I use a lot of ProRes pictures and they are really big. They take up a lot of space. They take up significant space. So here's the definition of Pro RAW. You can read that on your own time. In settings, there's formats. It's in the formats section under camera formats. You can use, here's the types of pictures you take. When you take a picture, you can use the high efficiency. In other words, reduce it down and make the picture take as little space as possible. Or you can use the most compatible. And they do that for the video as well. Pro RAW and Pro RAW resolution, when you turn that on, my default Pro is Pro RAW Max. That's 48 megapixels. I was wrong a minute ago. It's 48 megapixels. So a single picture can be 48 megapixels instead of 12. So you can see where that could take up a lot of space. If you take a whole bunch of Pro RAW pictures, you just end up with a lot more space used in your library. Your phone will use a lot of space up real fast. In fact, I increased the space on my phone when I bought my last phone because of this. Because I knew I was going to get carried away. And sure enough, I did. And I've got a billion of these pictures in there. All right. And you can turn it on for video too, but I got it turned off on video. But I have it turned on pictures.
That's gotta really eat up space if you've got it on a video.
Oh yeah, they get really, really big.
Wow.
You still use.
Okay, let's go back to live photos real quick.
What extensions is RAW?
Yeah.
You don't see it. It doesn't show up. If you export them, I don't remember what it is. I've seen it, but I forget. If you export them.
So external editors will recognize it as RAW?
There are external editors, and there are editors they have. You can buy third-party editors that also recognize it. I use dark mode, dark. There's an app.
DNG.
Yeah, DNG is not. I don't think. Does Pro RAW use DNG?
And that's, I just Googled it, I don't know what I'm talking about.
DNG
It just says,
common.
it says Pro RAW uses the industry standard DNG file
There it
format,
is. It's DNG then.
which is a negative,
Yeah,
just like the old days.
it's great. So the photo app I use is I use two different ones. I use one called Photometer. Ever heard of Pixelmeter? The same people did this photo app called Photometer, and it will process raw images from the phone. It does an incredible job. And the other one is called Darkroom, and Darkroom does a really good job too. Those are my two favorites for processing raw images. And it lets me get everything I want to do with them, right on the phone or on my iPad. And I really like both of them. Okay, back to live photos. So I told you a while ago what live photos does. It captures a little bit before, a little bit after, and you turn it on and off with this symbol right here. So if you push that once, it turns on. You push it again, it turns off. If you leave that on, every picture you take is going to be in this thing, which also uses more memory. So if you want to use as little memory as possible, keep that off except when you want to use it. The problem is, I always forget to turn it back on. And so I find that I don't remember to turn it on a lot of times. This is my grandson. This is a live image of my grandson. I didn't think my daughter-in-law would want me to put his picture out on the internet, and I know this is gonna end up on the internet, so I hid his face. But it was the cutest picture of him eating this
Cotton candy.
cotton candy. So when you go into live photos, you get the same kind of ribbon. You have one picture that they call the key photo, which is the same thing they use in the burst mode. But you can swipe back and forth across this thing and find an image that you really like and make that the key photo. And that's the one when you bring up this Pro Raw, you see that one. You can also export it and get rid of all the extra junk and just keep just that photo. So you can use that export function, which I didn't demonstrate here, but you can do it on the phone. And it'll give you that. There it is, says, I selected one clear over here. It said make key photo. Hit that make key photo, boom, it stores that as the key photo from then on out. So whenever I bring that image up, I see just the key photo. And there is a library for just live photos, just like there was for burst mode. You can see all your live photos on the phone in that library.
Rick, when I take photos out of the front of the airplane, I'll take a live photo, and a lot of times the prop is going to be in the way of, so
So you just don't get that.
I'll slide through that to get the prop out of the way.
Yeah, you just delete those, or
Yeah.
yeah, that's great. It's brilliant.
Well, Rick, what made you decide on that photo?
I liked it. And I knew I was going to be doing a
Okay,
demo.
it wasn't because he had his eyes closed or?
I have used it for that. I have used live photo with family group pictures just to get one picture out of a bunch without everybody's eyes open. I have done that. That's not why I made it here. Here I just love the look on his face, the second photo.
Okay.
What he was doing, the look, the smile, the laugh. It was all just adorable. I nodded, and so I took that. That was my favorite picture. All right.
And you say this started with, you think,
12 or 13.
12 or 13?
I think so. But it's more about what I mean, it was supported with iOS. I don't remember what version of iOS, but whenever there was multiple phones that would support that, even older than what was currently, so I would imagine your phone could do it, for example, 11, but I'm not positive.
Yeah, I don't.
I had an 11, I'm sure.
I'm not seeing some of the things you're showing up there, so.
Now, live photo, once you've got a live photo, there's other things you can do with it. This is a great example of that. Here's a picture I took of a falls, and this was at Glen Helen over in Yellow Springs. So this is the raw picture, just as I took it. But I was using the live mode here. I was in the live mode. I turned it on. And then afterwards, when I'm editing the picture, I can bring up this menu, and I can turn it into a long exposure photo. And now that water turns into this beautiful, you probably can't see it real well, but it just makes it time exposure, stretches it out. It makes the water look like it's just a cool effect. Let me see if I got it. There it is afterwards. That's after I did that small effect. So all I did was change one thing. I took a live photo, and then I said, make it long exposure. And it takes that whole stream of information it's got and turned it into this. Is that cool?
Is that where it's white?
That's the water. This is all water flowing, that it kind of just makes it into a nice, smooth, it takes out, instead of water droplets, it makes it into just a nice flow of water. Because it takes things that are in motion and changes it to average it out from an engineering perspective.
Blurs it out, yeah.
All right? So that's live photos to do. There's more to it though. So here's a picture I took of another falls. This was at Oak Tip City.
Ludlow?
What is that? No, not Ludlow. Charleston Falls. This is the falls at Charleston Falls. And so I got this picture. I did this as a live photos. And just to show you, there's other things you can do. You can do long exposure, bounce, loop, or just leave it as a live. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you to it as a bounce. That was a bounce. And what will happen is it just goes up and down. It just, whatever you put in the bounce, it goes one way, then it goes the other way. So if you take a picture of it, you take the lid off the can, you would see it take the lid off, then the lid go back on, back off, back on. So it just does a bounce. And that's the bounce mode. There's the long exposure of Charleston Falls. This is my favorite effect. I mean, I love this effect when there's water involved.
It almost looks like it's frozen.
Yeah.
Just like the
It's so cool. You can do this with a regular camera, just long exposure, but the phone just does it all automatically, which is so cool that the phone just does it for you. And here's a loop. It just sets and loops, does the same thing forever, it just sits there and it just keeps going. So if you want a video that just keeps going forever, you just set a loop up and just tout the loop and it loops forever. That is all I'm gonna talk about live photos. Any questions about live photos, something you didn't get, you'd like to talk about? Live photos is really powerful. You can do all kinds of cool things with it. My favorite thing is family portrait pictures. I didn't put this in there either, but you can take pictures on your phone from your watch. So if you have an iPhone, if you have a watch, you can set your phone up, and I should have put this in because I just totally forgot about this. There's an app, a camera app on your watch, and you put your phone on a tripod, set it across the room, you set it over there, then you open the camera app on your watch, and you'll see what picture the camera sees. And then you can set it up to do 3-second pause. You take the picture, it counts 3, 2, 1, then it takes the picture, and that gives you enough time from across the room. You can just take the picture, put your hands down, smile, and you get the picture. But if you're doing a live photo, then you got, in addition to that, you see a little bit before it took the picture and a little bit after, so you can maybe make a small adjustment to the picture to get the best one. That's powerful.
Especially if you're doing a group and you got young kids and they put their hands to their
Oh,
face.
Is that
or-
tell you my
Yeah.
phone's too old?
Well, it's iOS 17, that's good.
It's
should
hard.
have as
when
much as you
have
can
a
do for your
family
hardware.
Get together, a reunion.
That's actually-
and you have
it's
small
not
kids
too
to
old.
get them to sit still and keep
Okay.
Is this on the pro version only of the phone?
Which, live photos?
Not under
Well,
settings then.
A lot of what you're talking about
Right
is
there on just newer phones. I think even some of the non-pros have it,
Oh,
just it's on newer phones.
okay.
I don't,
It's more the
it's more the age of the phone.
age of the phone.
But you can check that before you buy one. I know there are,
Camera,
they have less
remote.
cameras on the
That's what
older,
it is.
non-pros. So there's some of this that wouldn't work there, but the live photos show them all. Okay, night modes. Who's used night mode?
3 seconds. Did I just do something?
You just took a picture. You probably weren't using the camera. If you had the camera on, and you actually would see what's on the camera. It's just incredibly cool. And you set that up across the room, and then just tell it to take the picture. It's really great. All right, night mode. Anybody use night mode? This is another, I fell in love with this picture. So when the iPhone, I don't remember which iPhone it was, but we were going to Hawaii right about the time the phone was supposed to be delivered. And the phone got delivered just before we left to go to Hawaii on vacation one year. And we get there and we're in this, I got the phone, I'm still trying to figure out how to use it. And then I heard about this night mode thing it's got. And so I wanted to try night mode. So I went on the patio deck, we were in
Illinois.
Airbnb, and we were right on the coast, on the island. And it was dark as could be, it was pitch dark outside. And I tried to take a picture, in pitch dark, which of course, flash doesn't do no good when you got that much space to fill. So the picture was terrible. But then I turned on night mode, and I was blown away by the picture. I tried to find it. You can't see it here. This is night mode. This is without using night mode. This is a picture of the house across the street from us. It is pitch dark. You could probably from the back hardly even see what's there. If you're up close, you can make out a tree. Here's a house with a little bit of lighting. But that's without night mode. Now this next set of pictures is using night mode. Same phone. All I did was turn on night mode. And it is incredible how much more detail you can get in a dark spot. You can, I mean, that's not a great picture, but you can see it's cloudy, you can see the clouds, you can see the tree. Not bad for being totally pitch dark. How does Apple do this? Well, first of all, where the button was that turned on the night mode, all of a sudden you get this little thing that says 3S. And it's got a bubble around it. That tells you how long they're going to take the picture to try to figure it out. They take lots and lots of pictures. So in that 3 seconds, they'll take dozens, maybe hundreds of pictures, and then they process all those pictures to figure out what is in the image and put together this picture, which is so much detail. It's amazing what they do here. Now, if you have a tripod and you put it on a tripod, your camera on a tripod, they'll do up to 20 seconds. So that they'll sit there and take pictures for even longer. And they'll take all that data and hem it together in ways to try to make it make sense of what's in the picture. And you end up, if I had this on a tripod, this picture would be even better. It would be an incredible picture if I had it on a tripod. I was just holding my hand to do that. For the whole 3 seconds, I just held it, and you watch it count down, 3, 2, 1, and then it processes the picture and pops the picture. It's called night mode. It works great inside, it works great outside, it just has to be dark. And it automatically does it if you have night mode turned on.
Where do you turn it on?
I'm gonna show you here. I guess I'm not gonna show you, I swore I had. It's in settings, camera, and I thought I put a picture of that in there. I must have deleted it.
No.
But you turn on your screen when you want to use it, and I will show you that.
Mine might not have it.
Mine not, I don't think mine has it.
Oh, there's not a special place for it. I thought there was. It must just happen. I thought it was a thing. But anyway, when you go into take the picture, this button right here is the night mode button. If that's got the line through it, it's turned off. If you don't have that line through it, it's turned on. So, but you got to be in the dark. That button don't even show up here in a lot of light. So you got to be in a dark place for it to even show up. Then if it shows up, it says you can use dark mode, and to do it, you got to turn it on. And it'll show you the time. If it's on, it shows you how long it's going to need to take the picture. If it's not, if it's turned off, you have the line through. If you want to try it, go in that little room over there and try a dark mode picture and come back out when we're done here. We'll be done in just a minute. Does dark mode make some sense?
Yeah.
It's a cool feature, really powerful. It's great when you're out at dusk or even past dark. And phones aren't supposed to work that good in the dark. I mean, it doesn't use a flash or anything. I did not use a flash for those pictures or nothing. I just used the dark mode capability and let it do its job.
Again, Rick, I keep asking this question, which model did this start? Yeah, okay.
Read that note at the bottom here. I'm sure they tell you right at the top which one to work with. Click this link when you get it. It's a hot link. So if you go in and click that link, it'll take you to it should do that even in the PDF, not just copy and paste that into your browser, and it'll tell you exactly which phones it works with.
Okay, so
Throughout the whole thing, everything will do that here.
is that the best link, almost like a manual
It's
or something?
It's Apple's tech mode. It's right from Apple.
Okay.
I didn't want to put to somebody else. I wanted to use the Apple source. You can go to other places and learn about dark mode. There's a lot of stuff on the web about dark mode. But this is Apple's. Here's how to use it. Here's how you turn it on. Here's how you do all that stuff.
Okay, because, yeah, sometimes I have a difficult time finding things at Apple.
Start with that. I found it for you. That's where you want to go.
Okay.
All right. All right. We're gonna do Q&A, and next month we're gonna go into other things, or the month after. I don't know yet. I'm gonna talk to Bill. Any questions? That's a lot of stuff in a very short period of time. I think the iPhone camera is the best thing that ever happened in my life. I just love it in my life. I have to say that, right? No, she knows that's true. The camera is a great device. I've been using it for years now, and it keeps getting better. So no matter which phone you have, it'll take great pictures. Just use it to the maximum of its capabilities, and I think you'll find you can do some amazing stuff. So I hope some of these ideas are helpful.
Oh my God, yes, yeah.
My problem is that in the dark mode, how do you say, I wanna use the flash? Because it always keeps going to the dark mode and giving me a long exposure when I just want the light, the flash.
If I want to do that, I would turn off the dark mode. Go back a slide here. If I want to do what you just said, which I have had to do that before, the first thing I would do is I would turn that off. Then it'll never use the dark mode. If you turn that off, it will not use the dark mode. Then you can turn on the flash and do it like you used to do it, and you'll be fine. So turn off dark mode first, and then turn on flash, and you're in business for what you want to do.
But you have to remember that you're not using an open scene like what you had. You can't use the flash mode in that.
If I tried to use the flash there, you wouldn't get anything. It would be a waste. But if you're in a wedding reception, and they're doing they turn the lights down so they can dance and all that romantic thing, you probably in that situation won't want to use dark mode. because people are moving, you would get some really funky pictures with the dark mode probably. You'd be better off to do exactly what he's trying to do. Turn off the dark mode, then use the flash and take some close-up pictures. The flash will work fine for that.
Yeah.
That's what it's meant to do. That's where it would work well. Other questions? Go.
I'll set up so I can take a picture of you.
Well, do you have the camera app? Go into your list of.
It's called camera remote.
You gotta have the camera remote app.
There it is.
Click that. Hang on. I forgot how to use the button. I don't think that's what it is. Let me come back. Sure. Any other questions? I'm gonna have to put this, let's see how this works. Anything else?
So it sounds like I need a new phone.
Well, only if you wanna use some features.
Yeah, well,
A lot of these things will work with the iPhone, the iPad too, for their camera on the iPad too, so. All right, I'm gonna work on this. Kathy? you gonna-
Probably not too related to this, but, when John says something about needing a new iPhone, I've got, I forget, 11 or something like that. When is it where it won't, update?
You have to look in the footnote for iOS, we're about to have iOS 18, right? When they do that, they'll tell you which phones it won't work with. I don't think the he can still upgrade on the 11.
I'm up for 17, I think.
I think it's gonna come out this fall. And there you may not be able to, I don't know. Right now, iOS 17 is still supporting sleep back to the 11. But I don't know what the future is yet. They haven't said yet.
We're still doing that with the SUs.
Profits.
I'm sure.
But I don't.
Our sales are down, we gotta make more phone bill.
Yeah.
All right, happy Mother's Day to mothers. And we'll see everybody next month. If you do have any questions, I'll be around for a few minutes. I'm gonna fix this here first of all. But have a great one. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Rick.
And